Hey, what's up guys, it's Oakley, and CA just dropped the news officially. Rise of the Tomb Kings is going to be announced here. They have a trailer for us, they have a FAQ, they have, sorry, not FAQ, they have also a post here on the Steam page, so there's going to be a lot to take a look at. First and foremost, it is going to be, well, Total War Warhammer 2 Rise of the Tomb Kings. It's going to be a DLC for Warhammer 2, and it is coming in the way of a campaign DLC pack, but the campaign DLC, as they will specify, is that it doesn't come with its own self-contained campaign. Rather, they've invested more in just plugging into the main campaign. So the main bonus of that is instead of 2 legendary lords, they're going to have a total of 4, each with their own skills, traits, quest chains, and legendary war gear, and situational challenges. So with that being said, let's go ahead and watch CA's trailer, and then we'll get back to the revelation of some details that they have here. And it is a very cool trailer.
Empires fall while we endure. What you will find is our curse. Our true king will show them. We do not serve. We rule.
Alright, another trailer, another DLC for the game. As we say every time, they do get better with each instance and each appearance. So they do have some really cool stuff. I do like the setting of the Dark Elves with an encampment here trying to rob a tomb, and then finally the darkness of the deserts being awakened here. And they have a lot of cool animations. I mean, obviously we'll be going over some of the units they do reveal. When I was looking through all the posts, they didn't actually state the full roster, but you do get a hint of what it is here. So some of the interesting ones like the Desert Scorpion, and if this is any indication, they're going to be having some cool combat animations for us, especially with all the new unit types. So that is always a pleasure to see with each new DLC, the little tricks and treats that they hide in there. Then obviously the chariots being a big part of the Tomb Kings roster, making the first impressions of the assault. Lots of the Ushabti there, and then a variety of different units. It looks like war sphinxes, and then the buzzards as well. So tons of different units, going to be really cool. And then finally the giant construct coming in here at the end. So this has people excited, I'm sure, and they're going to add a lot of new flavor. So with that being said, let's head on over to the I think the Steam page actually does a better job of describing everything. And we could take a quick look through the different images here of the various units. So executing Skaven people in the desert, buzzards flying overhead. Actually, let's blow this up. And here is one of the skull catapults that you can get as well. And look at these custom maps in the background. They're going to look beautiful. Some of the archers as well. A lot of the constructs. And Yeah, here's one of the other, one of the 4 legendary lords that you'll be able to bring to the battlefield. We'll go over those in an instance, but take a look at all the roster before you. Some tomb guards there. Lots of excellent units, and the unit cards also looking really beautiful. Again, indicating some more. So it looks like cobras. These are some more, I guess, regular serpents. The Ushabti in the center. Tomb guards. Lots of the bowmen. I'm trying to take a look at the unit sizes. What we have here. So obviously the big monsters are going to be restricted in size, and the warriors here rather standard size as well. Oh man, this looks so cool. Yeah, take a look at the roster at the bottom. Pretty cool, and then some of the lores that they're able to use, and we'll go over all that. And here is one of their areas in the desert itself, reskinning all of these to be the full-blooded pyramids that we would expect. And the setting sun here looks absolutely glorious. And here's another one, Scarpel's Lair. Some of the new mounts, and I would assume they're going to introduce more or revamp the different loot system in the area. Wow, with the chariot on the campaign max looks great, and the vortex in the distance as well. Looking awesome. And this is going to be a great custom map. Again, layout is rather similar to what we've seen before, but this one is pushing a little bit more in the multiple stages of defense that I am hoping they're going to try and push more and more. Variants like this would be awesome because, as we know, what they end up doing is they create a city layout, and then after that they kind of just reskin it. So in terms of layouts, this does seem like a multi-tiered one that I am very eager for. Large open plazas attacking from what seems like 3 directions. So that's pretty exciting. And yeah, now we get to see some more close-ups of the different units. Oh my god. The animations on all these are going to be insane. So no wonder that's taking so much time to work on. And yeah, here you see the chariot from the trailer charging forward in the full glory. So now let's go ahead and take a look at some of the details that they're anticipating, or that they're announcing here. So new Tomb Kings race playable in both Eye of the Vortex and Mortal Empires campaign, although they did say that the Tomb Kings are not going to be participating in the Vortex rituals. So they're going to be doing their own unique race mechanics inspired by the Tomb Kings lore. And actually, if we pivot over here, that unique mechanic, basically they describe it a little further down here. And yeah, so here's the answer. Will the Tomb Kings be fighting for control of the Vortex? While the Tomb Kings can be played, they do not seek influence of the Vortex itself, and therefore do not engage in the race for control of it. Instead, they seek the 9 cursed books of Nagash, a search culminating in an epic battle of the Black Pyramid of Nagash. So that's pretty interesting. Who's going to be pulled into that? Perhaps the other Tomb Kings, but what if they're killed off? So that's going to be an interesting thing, where in the Vortex campaign there's going to be multiple epic battles taking place in the endgame. Really interesting stuff, and maybe it's a second chance for them to revise this endgame battle to make it a little bit more impactful than I think people had complained about in the Eye of the Vortex. Each of the books grants a unique campaign bonus and puts the player a step further along the road to victory. So there's that. Okay, 4 new playable legendary lords. Cetra the Imperishable, High Queen Khalida, Grand Hierophant Katep, and Archon the Black. So that's pretty cool. So 4 of the legendary lords, and they do talk about some of their details further down. This is just a brief overview. Gather the cursed books of Nagash and win the battle of the Black Pyramid to achieve ultimate victory. So again, we went over that. That's tying into the kind of Vortex campaign. I'm not quite sure if this will carry over for Mortal Empires, if this is included in both instances. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I would assume it's just Eye of the Vortex. Next, uncover the mysteries of the past by researching the Nehekaran dynasties. So this is, they touch on this. It's nothing necessarily new. It's just a reflavoring of research, where instead of looking to the future, you're looking to the past actually, and looking at what past dynasties did, unlocking previous knowledge. Tap the Realm of Souls to regenerate your troops and summon Ushabti in battle. So this is dealing with new specific battle mechanics. Combine exotic trade goods, the Canopic jars, and Tomb King's unique resource to craft magic items and raise fabled legions of legend at the mortuary cult. So really changing up how you spend your faction-specific resources, again adding a lot of flavor, and I'm pretty excited for this. Very cool stuff. The magic items that you can craft and create is going to be pretty cool. If they really give you a lot of variety, then that is going to be a breath of fresh air. Comprehensive unit roster featuring unique units from the Warhammer Fantasy Battle World. Yes, that is exceedingly obvious from what we've seen in the trailer. So, they give us a brief intro. So, across the arid deserts of Narakara, vast legions of skeletal warriors rise from beneath the baking sands to slaughter those who trespass into their domain. It is a lifeless realm of endless dunes stained red from the blood of savages and barbarians. This is the land of the dead, where mummified kings are cursed to rule in perpetual unlife. But it was not always thus. There was a time when the ancient kingdom of Nehekara stood as a crown of human civilization. A golden age when its cities shone with majestic splendor, its armies conquered entire nations, and the kings ruled as gods among men. But this realm was razed millennia ago by the treacherous sorcery of reviled Nagash. In a stroke, the living perished and the dead rose from their tombs. Death is no barrier to glory for the Tomb Kings, however. In unlife, they will see the empire of Nehekara restored to greatness. Okay, brief little intro. I'm sure the lore masters amongst the YouTubers and other community members will be able to enlighten you a lot more on what's going on here. I can't contribute too much, but definitely check out Indie Pride and the other people in the community who do know way more. Now for the campaign objective. So the main objective they say here is, as we specified before, not participating in Eye of the Vortex, but instead going after the 9 cursed books of Nagash, a search culminating in an epic battle, as we said, and then each one granting you campaign bonuses. So we've gone over that. Next, the unique resources, the Canopic jars. So these were famously in historical Egypt. The Canopic jars were those jars that you always see in the form of different animals that holds the organs of the mummified. In this case, these are ancient containers filled with arcane energy that allow you, kind of like in post battles with all the other things we've seen with Warhammer 2, the new factions, the way they collect their faction-specific resources through missions, buildings, and post-battle loot. Same way to collect it, but different way to spend it. So they can awaken powerful units, unlock techs, perform rites, and craft unique items in the mortuary cult. So that's freaking cool. And they talk a little bit more about that below. So the mortuary cult, keepers of the lore of Nehekara and the secrets of revivification, the lich priests of the mortuary cult can be called upon to construct unique and venerable items. So using a combination of trade resources and Canopic jars. So that's cool. A little bit of crafting where you have to collect not just your faction-specific resource, but combine it with other resources, perhaps some that are hard to attain that will force you, if you want to get a specific unit, to go to the far-flung reaches of the world to collect those. So that could potentially be really awesome. The player can order the construction of unique magic weapons, armor, talismans, plus enchanted and arcane items. For a cost, the mortuary cult can also resurrect the powerful legions of legend for use in army. So an alternate way to have like beefed up units that are going to be almost like regiments of renown, but specific to the Tomb Kings here. Really good to see that. I always love the addition of new flavor that you can add in. And I'm curious what they're going to be. I'm sure they're going to have special chariot units, special Shabti, special bowman units with like stock and stuff like that. But we'll have to wait and see. But this is all looking very, very flavorful. So the dynasties of Nehekara here. So rather than developing new technologies, the Tomb Kings seek to unearth the achievements of their dynastic forebears. So as we said, research looking backwards in a kind of interesting twist. Players can resurrect great rulers of the past to serve as lords for their armies, increase capacity for the various Tomb King heroes, unlock a host of campaign and unit buffs, and awaken the heralds of ancient armies. Unique followers who bring powerful bonuses to key unit types in the army. So again, even more variety on top of the Legions of Legend, although those two may be tied together, I'm not quite sure. That's all really cool, very thematic, of course. And then finally, they do have the introduction of the rites, something we've seen for all the new factions in Warhammer 2. So their main ones, the Great Incantation of Tra, invoking the Sun God summons Tra's Necrotect, a unique hero character capable of colonizing ruins at city level 3. So okay, if that's a rite in and of itself, that seems like that's going to be very important to resurrect these cities in the desert and get them up and running as quickly as possible. The Great Incantation of Xar, invoking the god of the desert, wind generates sandstorms across all player-owned regions. This is going to be really interesting. It's like a defensive thing that you can trigger across all of your regions. And what it does is it causes attrition to foreign armies, increases your ambush success chance, and confers the army ability Sand Veil. Enables a unit to become hidden and gain stock in battle, making them invisible to the enemy until they draw very close. So that is freaking insane. I wonder how long it'll last, but that is such a game changer. All of a sudden, if you're on the back foot, or even if you're going deep into enemy lands and you want to defend your territory, pop this sandstorm, and now you have a veil that'll make it that much easier to defend. It'll be very, very cool to see that. Yeah, that's such an interesting, unique mechanic. I'm glad that they're thinking about all these cool things, and I really hope that in the future we see such detail and lovingly crafted faction-specific mechanics for historical games, obviously, or sorry, for historical factions. Next, the Great Incantation of Geheb, invoking the god of strength, increases Canopic jar generation, province growth, reduces construction time, and confers the ability Tomb Swarm, a swirling swarm of scarabs which damages the target and moves in the same manner as a vortex spell. Okay, so it'll be visually very interesting, but function much in the same way that we've seen on other Vortex spells. Last, the Great Incantation of Tahoth. Invoking the God of Scholars adds a Casket of Souls magical artillery unit to the recruitment pool. It also confers a rank bonus to newly recruited Tomb Kings and unit recruits, and increases recruitment capacity faction-wide. So, okay, the Casket of Souls here being very specific to this incantation. That is cool. I love having unique units in the sense that it's not just tiered up through buildings, but it has to have a very specific way to get it, and in this case, it's performing one of the rites. So this unit going to be pretty powerful if you expect it to be only raised in a certain way. And this is, the equivalent of the Dark Elves, how they can only use rights to unlock a Black Ark. I don't think it'll be quite so powerful, but hopefully it'll be quite as unique. Next, the legendary lords here. There are 4 of them, as I stated, instead of the typical 2. Setra the Imperishable. Setra is the king of all Tomb Kings. He's a ruthless leader. So he brings bonuses to growth, public order, while reducing construction times. He also confers bonus armor to skeleton chariots and tomb guard units, and has a selection of unlockable mounts, including the Kemrian War Sphinx, which we've seen in the trailer, and Flame Wreath Chariot of the Gods. Oh my god, so cool. The High Queen Khalida. The warrior queen of Libaras was famed for intelligence, honor, and bravery. Her reign was cut tragically short by her cousin Neferata, but ultimately, even though she gets killed and is given the blood kiss, she's saved by Asef's, the serpent goddess, who purified her of this taint, but then she has divine venom coursing through her veins. So Khalida here has reduced all forms of corruption, enjoys a diplomatic relation bonus with other Tomb King factions, grants hefty bonus to ammunition for all ranged units across her faction. She also confers poison attacks on all units in her army, and suffers considerably less from attrition effects. So that is very, very powerful. An entire army with poison, that is going to be quite interesting. The Grand Hierophant Katep, the head of the mortuary cult's Hierophantic Council. Katep is the oldest and wisest of the Lich Priests, and the first of them to deny death's embrace. Katep grants a bonus to dynasty research rate, improves casualty replenishment, army movement faction-wide. He can also recruit a high number of Lich Priest heroes and recruit them at a higher rank. Next, Archon the Black. Nagash is a principal lieutenant. Khalida helped him lead the coup, but was ultimately killed and eventually resurrected by his master to become the Lich King. He enjoys bonus diplomatic relations with Vampire Count factions, and his regions never suffer public order penalties from vampiric corruption. Heroes embedded in his army gain melee attack and defense bonuses, so very tanky lords, which is going to be always cool, as opposed to some of these that we're seeing buffed to the army as a whole. These guys are going to have leaders that stand strong. And all his armies gain a boost to their Winds of Magic power reserves. That can be very powerful if you want to dish out on lords and supporting casters. And finally, they talk about some of the lower tier guys. So here in New Lorem, the Tomb King. Tomb Kings are the principal lords which lead the armies of Narkara. A number will appear as standard in the recruitment pool, but unique named Tomb Kings, famous rulers from the 6 dynasties of Narkaran history, may be resurrected via the dynasties panel. So this is the new technology thing. Instead of just researching technology, you can also recruit specific lords, which is very cool, and they have unlocks like Skeletal Steed, Skeletal Chariot, and Kemrian War Sphinxes as mounts once again. Next, if we go a little bit further, new hero, the Tomb Prince, the Lich Priest, and the Necrotech. So the Tomb Prince functions very much like the melee lord that we would expect in many of the other factions. They may unlock Skeletal Steeds and Skeletal Chariots as mounts. The Lich Priest here does have 2 lores, Lore of Light and Lore of Death, and Lore of Nehakara, and have a unique curse ability which reduces enemy armor values. They also gain the Immortal skill earlier than other agents. Lich Priest may unlock Skeletal Steeds, Skeletal Chariots as mounts. Finally, the Necrotech here, representing a millennia of architectural wisdom. Necrotechs are the builders and taskmasters of Nakara. So they're a big buffing unit, apparently, and they provide passive aura-based buffs for construct units such as Ushabti, Tomb Scorpions, Hyro Titans, improving their combat ability in a number of ways. Necrotechs can unlock Skeletal Seeds, Skeletal Chariots as mounts. So those big tanky monsters that we've seen abounding, yep, they can get even more powerful by having lots of Necrotechs planted in your armies. This is so freaking cool. A lot of synergy in this army and ways to bounce off different units. Finally, the unique battle mechanics here. Realm of the Souls is very interesting. So essentially what happens is it's kind of like a timer with the amount of dead over time like the Dark Elves, but instead of increasing the power of your units, what it does is it actually triggers several mass healing waves among your skeletal units. So there's going to be multiple of them at 3 thresholds. So the first one, mass healing, each wave becoming successfully more powerful. And after the final wave, the player gains an army ability allowing them to summon a unit of Statues Ushabti anywhere on the battlefield. So getting more and more powerful over time. Crazy freaking stuff. I don't know how this is going to play in terms of balance, but I love that they're experimenting with very, very unique stuff and grabbing stuff out of the bag and just seeing if it works. So this is freaking awesome. Finally, the lore of Nehakara, as we said, in battle, Lich Priests may harness the power of the Desert Gods and wield the Tomb King's signature magic, the lore of Nehakara. Haven't specified too much about what we can do there. Probably going to be a lot to do with the resurrection. And then they did say something about a little earlier about reducing armor values, although that was a unique curse ability, which isn't necessarily tied to the lore of Nehakara. So I'll have to wait to see more about that, but I assume it's going to be a lot of stuff that does benefit other units within the ranks. So that's a lot of content here, and I'm sure we'll be seeing gameplay soon. They do say that I believe the game, the DLC should be coming out on the 23rd of January, so a little bit while to go. So we'll definitely be dropping more content here soon, but good God, this trailer has me very excited, and all the following up pictures here with the unique units. God, this is freaking awesome. The fact that it's in Warhammer 2 is that much more epic, but it does leave the question open, what are they going to bring in Warhammer 3 to get us this excited? So that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for more, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.